Hello, everybody, and welcome to this episode of Her Renewed Mind. And I'm so excited because not only is this in audio, so for those of my audio listeners, shout out to you, but also on video. So, hello to everybody watching this on video. We're so glad that you're here. And I'm super pumped to have a special guest. I'm pointing this way because she's on the left side of my screen. Clanisha Coleman of Make It Count Consulting. Hey, Clanisha.
Hey, how
Yeah,
you doing?
I'm great, girl. I'm excited about our conversation today, and I'm so
Yes.
thankful that you said yes.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Yes.
So, thank you for being here, sis.
You're welcome. Thanks for inviting me.
You are welcome. And I don't think I put this, I did, and I say this to all my guests. I did send some notes, but then Holy Spirit has permission to, put some veto. But I wanted to share some context because I have known Clanisha for a while. I don't know
Yeah.
if we're in the double digits, Clanisha, but
At this point, I've lost track of time.
I know. And so you'll have to help me as I kind of build this story about like how I first met you. But I think it was through Youth Build. Were you working at Youth Build?
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Okay.
it was a
Mm,
while
a
ago.
while ago, right. Some
Yeah.
years ago.
Yeah.
Um,
2015, 16, 14,
yeah.
somewhere around there. Yeah.
Wow. Yes,
Yep.
years ago, you all. So I used to work for our state agency here in Kentucky, and I was an outreach counselor. So I would be out and about. That was my job, to be out and about, talking with students and families about the college process. And I had the East Louisville side of Louisville to as my territory. So I would visit different organizations, and so I don't know if I called or what, but I rolled up on Youth Build. But I honestly
Mm-hmm.
remember, and those who've been following the podcast know I did an episode about, I'll say, our sweet, amazing sister, Kenina Porter,
Oh
who
man.
passed last
Yes.
year. She's with Jesus. And
Yes.
Kenina worked there, and you all worked together.
Mm-hmm. Oh yes.
Okay.
Yes. I loved her. Yes. She was basically my supervisor in a way, right? She oversaw case managers,
Okay.
and I was one of those case managers there. And I mean, we bonded and came up with ideas. I mean, yes, yes, yes,
So good.
yes.
So good. So Clanisha and I met, and then we would see each other in the community. And
Mm-hmm.
I just knew she had a heart for working with young people and helping
Mm-hmm.
them at their stages of life and the things that they need. And so that's where I would see you. And I remember we were both at, I think it was Home of the Innocents. I don't know if you remember that. And I think I
I
knew,
think I think so. I
okay,
think so.
and it was if I'm not, look, all the things are coming back. If I'm not mistaken, it was an event hosted there, and I want to say there were students who were in independent living or a part of foster. Yeah, and we
Yes.
both had tables there.
Yes.
Is that when you were with
Yes.
Simmons? I think maybe.
My hand's been in a whole lot
Right.
of things. I was there for somebody,
Yes.
Simmons, Becky. I don't know somebody, but yes, we
Yes.
connected, and it was all from there.
I'm from there.
It
So
was
I
all
just
from there.
say all
Yeah.
this to say that Kanisha is about community. Like you care about the community, you care about the young people in the community and helping
Mhm.
them in their path to post-secondary or career,
Yeah.
whatever it is that they are dreaming about or desire to do. You're there to help, and you have been that guide for them. So that's how I met
Yes.
Tanisha, through both of our work, working in the community, working with young people.
Yes. We
And
intertwined.
yes, intertwined. And then fast forward to 2024, and I reached out to Clanisha about us working together
Hmm.
officially to have a workshop, to host a workshop called College Planning with Grace, and we'll talk about that. But I'm done sharing context. I love to tell backstories, Clanisha, because I think it's just really cool
It's
how
important. Yeah.
how we're
Yeah.
connected. But I'd love for you to just introduce yourself, tell
Yeah.
everybody who Clanisha Coleman is.
Yes. Yes. So again, I'm Clanisha Coleman. Just to share a few things, is first off, foremost, I'm a believer, right? Secondly, I am a mother. I have three beautiful girls. that keep me motivated, keep me going. Ages 11, 6, and 2. And then lastly, I'm an educator.
Yeah.
You know, I'm an educator. I love youth. And you spoke, how I love the community, how I love young people. Absolutely. I've worked with youth and young adults for maybe over 10 years now. It started when I was very young. So as a youth leader, right? Um, yeah, and I just loved the bonding. I loved the ability to create relationships with people and help them figure out and problem solve what they're facing and what they're going through. So at this point I feel, and I felt it a long time ago, I feel like working with youth is not only my passion, but my calling,
Mm.
right? Because they like it intertwines.
Yes.
um and just being resourceful, to others in any way that I can. One thing I would like to note is that our youth are very capable.
Yeah.
They are capable,
Yeah.
despite the public criticisms, that some of them face based off their character or their choices. um but I feel like every young person is capable as long if they have the right support,
Yeah.
the right resources, the right tools, right? And trust.
Yeah.
Trust is, working with young people, I've learned that especially with case management, trust is important.
Mhm.
And I believe that to be true. People in their life, a lot of the times when they come to me, are working in, like Youth Built Louisville, Boys and Girls Clubs, Big Brothers, Big Sisters, like all these places I've built relationships I worked at is they're scared that someone's gonna walk out on them,
Mm.
right?
Mhm.
And so building that trust is so important. So, there's a difference between empathy and sympathy. Of
Mm.
course, we all know that, right? They're two different things. So I thrive off being empathetic and understanding because understanding comes with that. So just really about me is, I am youth focused.
Yeah.
I love youth. I love community building. And I love people.
Yes.
So it's a
Thank
little
you.
bit about who I am.
Yeah. Thank you. And I just want to say thank you on behalf of a community member. And and you said it, Clanisha, like it is a calling. And
Yeah.
when we realize that can be a whole nother podcast episode, right? But when we realize
Hmm.
what our calling is, then I just believe like what you give is just it's gonna be authentic, right?
Right.
Because you understand what it's really about, that you have been placed where you are to be that advocate, to be that support, to be that listening ear, to be that resource provider to the
Yeah.
student, to be empathetic, right? It's beyond just, oh, I have to do this. No, you get to.
Right.
Well, and that can be kind of, you may feel like, oh, I have to because it's welling up
Hmm.
in me, but that not, it's not, what am I trying to say? It's not like, oh, I'm only doing this because I'm trying to
To
get paid,
get something.
or,
Hmm.
it's,
Oh yeah.
that it's bigger than that. There's a bigger purpose.
Hmm.
And
Definitely.
that is so key. I,
It is. It
and,
is.
I think also, I'm sure because you mentioned like three different places, and I mentioned, I think two where you've worked, right? Where you've,
Mhm.
um, had an impact on young people. And I'm sure, have you, I'm going to say, I'll make an assumption, but I feel like I know the answer to this. Have you had moments where you were like, yeah, this is something. This is a challenge.
Oh yes.
Yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yes. In the face of adversity. Yes, I have faced so many challenges because, like I said, working with individuals, youth, you never really know what they're going to say,
yeah.
what they're going to do, what they go back home to, and then, working at Youth Build, it was more so those young adults were on our campus grounds. Many were facing homelessness, domestic violence, trauma from, their early childhood. So having to help them through those things, I also was learning in the process.
Mm.
And I was very honest with them. If I don't have the answer to everything, right? But if I can find you the help that you need, that's what I'm going to do. So there has been challenges, and I feel like in life you will be faced with challenges, but it's all about how you deal with it.
Right.
How you figure it out. A lot of it was leaning on God. God help me,
Yeah.
right? Please put something in front of me,
Yeah.
and it's always been, I feel like he's telling me you are where you're supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can't really fight that. And if you fight that, then even more challenges come up,
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you ain't going nowhere, right?
Yes.
But yeah, definitely. Oh
I believe
yes.
that. Yeah. And I think that, like, because you're right where you're supposed to be, he gives you the grace, right, to come through those challenges. He gives you the solution, right, to help this student, that student, whatever, that they may need. So I want
Yes.
you to talk about, because you have this lovely background, honey, and you repping your merch. I want you to talk about Make It Count Consulting, your business.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
how did it come
absolutely.
about? What are the services you provide? Just tell, this is your time to just share.
Yes. Yes. I want to actually share a little bit of my story, my
Mhm.
personal story,
Yeah.
and then how it kind of, went into Make It Count. So, I am the child, well, I was the child of a single parent mother. And I was the only child, right? And my mother didn't graduate high school,
Mhm.
right? And my dad, he was out of the home. We have a wonderful relationship now, right? But he was out of the home. So with that, he graduated high school, but he didn't go to college. So living with my mom, and her lacking the knowledge of how to help me with next steps, right? But although she lacked that knowledge, she was a pusher. She motivated me, she pushed me, she said, you know what, I care what you do, but I don't care as much. You graduate high school.
Yeah.
Please graduate high school,
Yep.
and and go off to college and make a life for yourself. I don't want you to struggle the way that I have, and I watched my mom struggle so much. It planted in my head that, I don't want that for myself or my kids. So long story short, I graduated high school, and as soon as I turned 18, my mother got pregnant. And I was the only child.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I had applied for colleges and things. And the college that I really wanted to get into at that time was U of L.
Mhm.
And I didn't get accepted because not even my GPA. My GPA was lovely. It was more so of my ACT scores,
Got you.
right?
Okay.
Um, and nobody was really at that time telling me, here's the free resources to go to the library, or here's the places you can go to get help to
Mhm.
kind of help with those scores, right?
Mhm.
But I got accepted to Kentucky State. I showed my mom, I was super excited. But then when we found out she was pregnant, my mom had no help at all with that child's father. So I took it upon myself, because I know my mother would never leave me. I stayed, I
Yeah.
stayed.
Yeah.
And I enrolled at JCTC. Loved it.
Mhm.
Was successful in it, and I went through the ultra program, right, to get into U of L, my dream school where I
Yeah.
wanted to go.
Yeah.
And that year, I was there for about a year,
Mhm.
and challenges arose, and I didn't really know how to handle it as far as more of an academic standing. I was struggling. I was struggling academically. At that time, I was in this big college coming from JCTC, in this big college in a classroom of, predominantly Caucasian population.
Mhm.
Um, and I didn't see many people that looked like me,
Mhm.
and that inside gave me a feeling of, I didn't really feel included.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like I was important. And at this point, I was talking to professors, I was trying to get the help that I needed, but no one was really helping me through that. And this is not to throw anything on the University of Louisville.
Right.
U of L is a very great school, but it wasn't for me.
Mhm.
My experience was a little bit different than others, right? Everybody has their own experience. But I was placed on academic probation,
Mhm.
and which meant I had to set out a semester. I had to set out a semester, which I didn't want to do.
Right. Right.
And so long story short, my mother was very adamant for me to go to college. And so she started looking, you know, where can
Really?
you go to school? You don't need to set out. I'm like, Mom, I don't need to, I know.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
I don't need to set out.
Yeah.
Um, but she was able to figure out a way to, with some connections with her friends, she was able to get me into Simmons College.
Honey,
And at that time,
your mom was making it count. You hear me?
let me
Your
tell you,
mom, your mom put
Mama is
everything.
a rider. She's a
Yes.
rider. She's a
I
rider,
love that.
right? And always been in my corner and continues to be,
Yeah, I love that.
and I was able to get a 2-year scholarship. So I was a Simmons scholar at that time, and I was overjoyed. So I was able to start school. I didn't even have to sit out because hey, I got a scholarship now, right? And I was able to go for 2 years, and still applying for financial aid to get the extra money for like books and things like that. Um, but when it came, I got my associates. I was able to get my associates, and went on to get my bachelor's. But Candace, you know how financial aid works, right? Sometimes you run out of money
Yeah.
after being in school for a while and using those funds. And towards my senior year, I had depleted my financial aid.
Okay.
And I was no longer on that scholarship because it was 2 years. So what happened was, I was go- going crazy trying to figure out what my journey will look like. Do I have to pay out of pocket? Do I have to beg some friends or family to help me? Because I'm not quitting. A lot of this comes with dedication,
Yeah.
um, and you just gotta have it. You gotta have it in you to keep going despite the challenges you may have.
Mm.
So what happened was, the Community Foundation of Louisville had a scholarship going on, and I started going through those channels and things and looking online and just researching a lot of different things.
Yeah.
Um, and I was able to get my degree paid for by applying for these scholarships, which in the end paid for my education.
Yeah.
So, and at the time, and I don't know if this is still to be true. I have to check in on that. But at the time, Simmons did not allow you to take out loans.
Hmm.
So not only did I leave, debt free from Simmons, but I learned a skill in the process because those hardships, those challenges will force you to start betting on yourself,
Right.
right? It'll
Absolutely.
start pushing you to do things and like, I gotta find a way,
Yeah.
right? Resiliency, so at the end of the day, I started looking up scholarships and trying to help some of my fellow students, and they heard about all the scholarship monies I got, and they're like, "Oh, can you help me? Can you help me? I gotta pay for this. I gotta pay for that." And I'm just like, "Whoa,"
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
"Whoa."
They look, they got
Um,
whipped. They're like,
so
hold on, Clanisha, you
yes, so
quit.
it kind of came full force, right?
Right.
And I'm like, wow, this is really a need,
Yeah.
and I didn't realize how much of a need it was until I was in that situation. See, we
Right.
don't really know what's happening until we put there, and it's like, oh wow, it changes your viewpoint.
Yep.
Um, so I was put in that situation, and I started, helping students, looking up scholarships, and Simmons was helping me in the process, and oh my gosh, I love Simmons so much. I created a flyer for myself. They hanging it up in the wall in the hallways. I'm just like, oh man, they're gonna have 100,000 people trying to come to me. But that's how I started.
Yes.
And I first started off at see how God works. I first started doing it first for free, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm like, it's free, right? I'm not gonna charge you, right? And then, it started coming and started taking up my time and things like that. And, people were getting rewards. I'm like, oh, this is something right here. So I started charging at $30. $30 was my no 15. I take that back. $15. Um And of course, throughout this process, I had already had one child. So, um, so yeah, that's how it started. It started off with scholarship consulting and scholarship research first. And then as I progressed and life happened and I was exposed to other things in other communities, I saw that there was a need for college assistance,
Yeah.
um, and getting prepared for college. And I say that because, working with young people, I think I was at Boys and Girls Club at that time, and as a teen coordinator, um, later on down the road, I was working with 13 to 18-year olds.
Mhm.
And, my 18-year olds, they're in their high school senior year, they're ready. I'm like, I'm ready to go. And, I was teaching classes, our programming that they had, that talked about college. But, I felt it lacked a few things,
Yeah.
but it it
Mhm.
it it was still helping,
Right.
right? But it was you know, I feel like the emphasis of college readiness falls a lot not only academically, but socially, building connections, life skills, things that they need to know. They're becoming adult,
Yeah.
and they're going to have to make some hard decisions. So with that, um, I started working on, preparing young people for college as an added service. And that started, I officially became a business though in 2017,
Okay.
and then just kind of worked my way up.
Yeah.
So a lot of this, Candace, has a lot to do with, I'm just not someone who's like, okay, I gotta, I'm gonna help young people and do this. I think the passion and the drive comes from the lived experiences
Right.
that I've had,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know, that I've been through myself, because that speaks a lot. So I can kind of come in from both viewpoints. So that's how it started, and that's a little bit of the backstory of, how that came about.
I love that so much. Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. That's amazing. And I loved hearing about your mom
Mhm.
pushing you,
Oh yeah.
right? Like, no, we're gonna figure this out. You're not sitting out and on her
You
own,
know,
like you said, well, and connecting with some of her friends. Like
yeah.
that is such a blessing. And now you do that. Well, you've been doing
Mhm.
that, not just now, but you do that for others
Yeah.
because that's the
Yeah. And I
foundation.
just, and just one more thing, Candace, I want to highlight on is it was my mom, is always been my number one supporter, like I mentioned, but the fact that, she knew that she lacked a lot of knowledge on different things. So she took it upon herself to make sure that me, her child, was set up for success. She
Yeah.
reached out to so many, she connected me to community resources. So a cool fact, not only did I work at Boys and Girls Club, but I grew up in Boys and Girls Club
Mm.
as a teenager.
Yep.
So, one step, I'm telling you, how God just, and it was wild. It was wild. I had never really seen myself working there, and it was wild. Coming from program aide there, team coordinator, and then unit director for a year at Shawnee. I mean, it just shaped my perspective in so many different ways. So yeah,
Yeah.
that's that.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good, sis. So let me ask you this, because I want to shift a little bit
Sure.
because we have this workshop that we're
Yes.
doing together. It's virtual, you all. It is Saturday, February 10th, and we're talking about college planning with Grace. And again, I'm just so grateful that Clanisha was open to this idea because I get ideas.
Always. Always.
And I, hadn't talked to you in a while, but just saw what you were doing because I follow you on social media. And let me say this, you all. Clanisha has a beautiful newsletter that she's sending out. And what blessed me, because I think this is so critical, is and you kind of said something to this sort, but how you honor you, right? Like you're partnering with them, you're honoring them, and you want them to shine. And so in
Yes.
your newsletter, you're highlighting young people, right, that are doing amazing things in our community. Can you talk? We're gonna talk about the worship.
Yes,
That's just been on my.
absolutely.
Can you talk about that and talk about your
Yeah,
newsletter?
yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I'm happy you brought that up. So yes, it started in January, and my first newsletter came out January 1st. And what it covers,
We're recording
what
it
it
in January, you all. Well, you'll hear this in January too, but this month it came out.
this month,
Yeah.
yes, they are released on the first of every month.
Okay.
So what happens is there is a Google Doc, a Google form that is shared with, well, basically on my social media sites as well as through email, parents or, whoever wants to join that email list. And what happens is they receive an electronic form that gives them the opportunity. And this is the community. So this isn't any specific person, place, anything like that, to nominate. They can pick their own youth between the ages of 10 and 16 who they feel have exhibited leadership, giving back to their community, sportsmanship, any type of, even if it's not academic, if they've improved, right? If they've improved in, their behaviors, their, um, the way that, just anything that you feel like that they should be recognized for, then you can submit that. And that opens from the 1st through the 15th,
Okay.
right? So they have 15 days to put in those nominations, and things like that. And it can be a parent, and anyone can nominate. It can be a parent, a teacher, a counselor, a community figure, anyone, right? So they put that in, and what happens on the 15th, it closes. And all these nominations and all these entries go in front of my advisory board. I do have an advisory board for my business, people who advise me, right? Give me advice and feedback on things that I'm doing. Um, it goes with them. They look over it. They have until the 27th, which is tomorrow for this one,
Yeah.
to pick, who they feel like should be nominated, right? And I'm not included in that. I am not a part of that pick and choose
Yeah.
thing right there. So they pick, and what happens is the before the 29th or by the 29th, that young person is called with that parent or whoever lists their numbers and things. I call that person and say, hey, this is Clanisha from Account Consulting. You were placed in our pool to be recognized as a community youth of the month. Based off, and I share what is on that form, because we do ask specific questions like why, why did you have, why would you like this child highlighted in our newsletter, what achievements are, what recognitions and things like that, would you like to spotlight for them. We also ask questions, what's their shirt size, because they do get in a make account shirt. um and what's your favorite dessert? Well, what's their favorite dessert? Could be, we come up with a whole thing,
Yeah.
just to make sure this person, this child is recognized. So I give them a call. They receive a $50 Visa gift card. They receive a hoodie or t-shirt for
Yeah.
Make It Count. And they are also spotlighted in the newsletter. And if they so choose, they get a specialty, assorted dessert of their choice. So it's a lot in one, but I really feel like I said, there's so many brilliant youth that I
Yeah.
want to try to highlight the good,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
There are young people doing great things, and they should be recognized for that. And Candace, I was going back and forth and saying, even though there's youth on there that is not selected as the community youth of the month, they are still highlighted
Yeah.
in our newsletter. Their name is mentioned in our newsletter of other young people doing great things in the community, and there's their name. So they also still feel appreciated, and recognized.
Yeah.
So that's kind of
Mm,
how that process
yeah.
works.
I love that. So awesome, amazing listeners or viewers of this video, a youth. And like you said, it could be your own child and you want to highlight
Mhm.
them. And what I know, and like young people like to be acknowledged and affirmed and
Yeah.
highlight. Who doesn't like to be complimented? And that,
Mhm.
somebody sees me, right? Someone took the time to see that I'm put one foot in front of the other. And I love you even said that student who has improved.
Mm-hmm.
Right. It doesn't just have to be the person who is always hitting these marks, right?
Yeah.
Academically, or, you even mentioned sportsmanship or how they're giving back to their community. So that blessed me so much when I saw that. So I just applaud you and the advisory board and the young people who are doing amazing things. And
Yes.
the people that are seeing that and wanting to acknowledge
Mm-hmm.
them in that way. And they get a hoodie or a t-shirt, some dessert,
Yes.
and a
Yes.
pizza and a shout out and
Listen,
a picture.
the
Like,
motivation, keep doing what you're
yes,
doing.
keep going.
It
I
is
see you,
recognized.
I
Yeah.
acknowledge you, I honor you, and you're making an impact, right? Oh, that's so good. So good.
Thank
So
you.
let me ask this question because you've worked with a lot of young people through the years in terms of, helping them to get to the next level. And we'll specifically talk
Right.
about college. What are some maybe like challenges that you've seen with
Mm.
students that you feel like, okay, I want to continue to help students in this way get to college? Like, what are some things that you've encountered with students that they're like, I really need help, Miss Clanisha, in this way?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's been a few. Money is always the
Mm,
biggest one. Especially with those students who, we do have things in place here in Kentucky and Louisville is, Evolve 502, those different partnerships that, they get scholarships for a certain amount of years or till they get a certificate or a trade or a college that's paid for. But what about the students who, want to go out of state and get that experience? Of course, that tuition is a lot higher versus an in-state and out-of-state. You know where I'm going, Candace, and,
right.
and the struggle's real,
Yeah.
right? And financial aid, Pell Grant is it's some, but it's not
Right.
going to be enough.
Right.
Um, so then we have people taking out loans and oh yeah, I can get this loan and but not knowing the differences. Then, it starts immediately, 6 months after and you graduate, just being prepared for that. So I would say the biggest concerns from families that I've worked with is money, how to find it,
Mhm.
what to look for when applying. And I tell people the scholarships are out here.
Yeah.
It's more so of being very intentional about the process,
Yeah.
right? And keeping track of the scholarships you've applied for, when the deadline is, if
Yeah.
you're waiting to, if and I say think 6 months ahead. If there's a scholarship that opens later on in the year that you might be a good fit for, save it
Yeah.
and put a reminder and say, I'm gonna apply for this when
Yeah.
it opens up. So, just, where to find money, how to apply for it, the steps, the fine print,
Yeah.
and things of that nature. And then another thing on top of that is when you have a child who really wants to go to college, but they internalize what either they've seen or what they've heard or what's been told to them. Oh, you're not good enough. Oh, you're not capable. Oh, you're not qualified. Right. So we're not only struggling with the money part, but we're also struggling with the psychological part of it. Is I want to go to college, but I don't feel like I'm good enough.
Mm.
I don't have a 4.0. I don't have a 3.8. Like I'm not a good test taker. Like these are things I try to tell young people to get out of their minds. Like,
Mm.
try your best.
Yeah.
There are certain things I try to encourage people to do. Yeah, try to get as high of a GPA you can. Get a good ACT, but don't beat yourself up about it.
Right.
There are ways. There are ways to get you where you need to be. So I'm not capable and I'm not qualified is what I hear as well, challenges. And the last biggest one also that I hear is, okay, Miss Clanisha, I got accepted. I'm in school. And I'm like, oh my gosh, congratulations, Um, go ahead, you got it, right? And but then when they get there, and I'm speaking on the students that I don't necessarily do individualized like group settings with. These are young people that I've known, come across, that I really don't get to have conversations too much with, but they know what I do. And they're like, oh, Miss Ganesh, I applied, I went to this, whatever. They get into school and the hard part really, and Candace, I feel like I've told you this before, is the hard part usually at times is not I can't get into school,
Right.
right? Because they've colleges is making it a little bit easier to get
Yeah.
in.
Yeah.
It's more so of staying in.
Yeah.
And what I spoke so heavily on is the mindset, the mind shift that happens
Yeah.
when a student gets in college versus prior to.
Right.
No one's waking you up to go to class. You have to wash your own laundry. You have to be responsible so you can feed yourself. There's just different things. You have to be able to open up and speak to your professor when you're having challenges. Go to the registrar's office if you feel like you need to drop a class. Know the deadlines for dropping a class so it don't affect your aid. Like things like this is things that the information that they lack.
Mm.
And honestly, I feel like, while they're in school, right, we are so set up to go to college, go to trade, get a job, get this GPA. It's heavily academics,
Mhm.
but not necessarily life skills building.
Yeah, that's good.
So we need to make sure our young people surviving
Yeah.
and having the tools that they need. So those are the three main: money, qualifications, and just the commitment part of staying
Yeah.
in.
That's so good. That's so good. And because I know you, right? And even you sharing those, I know that when families that they're connecting with you through Make Account, you all are going to have those conversations.
Yeah,
Right? Like you just have
yeah,
to. I'm telling you all,
yeah.
like, Clanisha and I are hosting this workshop. We won't be able to talk about everything in an hour and a half because we're also going to have time
Mm-hmm.
for question and answer. But we're gonna hit on some goodness, a lot of the
Oh
things that Clanisha
goodness.
shared and more. And you said it's just like we have a lot around the planning and getting you there,
Mm-hmm.
and I also know, and you know that too, that colleges,
Yeah.
and I would say from my viewpoint, are doing better
Mhm.
about having resources and people,
Yeah.
right? People to help students, fancy word, matriculate, retention, all
Yeah.
those words, that they have data about, but ensuring that our students are, set up for success where they are continuing on and then get into graduation. But it's
Yeah.
so key. That's why this workshop is open for 8th grade through 11th grade, because it's so
Yep.
key to start having those conversations now. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Start with some of that language. And even I think about, because my daughter is a junior in high school, right? So even as you were
Mm-hmm.
talking, I'm like, you know what I'm grateful, and I'm gonna tell my parents on Kyla, is that she does know how to do laundry. Right?
Yes.
I didn't learn, let me put
Yeah.
myself out there. I
Lex,
learned laundry
Lex-
from college.
me too.
And no
You
shade
know,
to my amazing parents, but it's some of those things that, and I won't, there's some things that our young people will learn once they get there, right? Because you can talk about it, you can even do some
mm-hmm.
things, show them this, show them that, but a lot of times it's our experience, right?
Right.
That
That
gives us
helps
that
shape. Yeah.
right? That helps shape.
Yes.
Well, we know, okay, I don't do that because I tried that. So next time I'm gonna do something different, right? And that's the
Mm-hmm.
picture a lot of times versus me just
Yes.
telling or showing, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so where was I going with that? Basically,
Yeah. Yeah. Tips and yes. And I definitely agree with you because I can say a lot of the things that help shape me as a college student is like going through it,
yeah,
and
yeah,
like losing my funding for federal aid. Like honestly, I really didn't even see it coming until they said, you know what? Unless you have a problem.
right,
Like
right. What happened?
yes, and figuring it out, what does that encourage or boost our, it makes a light go off in your brain,
Yes.
oh, I need to figure it out. So you definitely hit on that. Yes.
Yeah, so good. So, and what I was gonna say is that we want y'all to be a part of this workshop. It's going to be rich information shared, but then also know that you can meet with Clanisha. You can connect with her. She, works with families and students. I do as well. And so, if you want to go a little bit deeper and need more one-on-one, right, then you can connect with Clanisha and Make It Count Consulting. Um, okay, I think this may be. I have like two more questions.
Okay,
So one
that
is,
works.
can you share like a success story, however you define
Yeah.
success, maybe one student that you work with, and how they're doing and how that process was in terms of working with them on college funding.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. So I have one that was kind of a one-to-one. We're still connected.
Yeah.
And I helped them in that moment. But now currently I am working with a good friend of mine and their son, who is a senior in high school and um, doing beautiful things academically, like succeeding. So my first one is, I don't know if I can say names, and I don't know if they want me to say names, but
Yeah.
I yes, I worked with someone,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Um, and this was after we met in Simmons. Okay. And throughout that process, they were watching me, wasn't too sure. We hadn't really built a relationship just yet, but they were seeing me work. And we eventually really became really good friends because we were both Simmons scholars. We came in the same year, that 2-year mark. And oddly enough, we were also battling the same thing with financial, because they too were also going to a different school, trying to figure it out. They had been in previous schools before. So with that, they reached out to me, and this was more so, and catch me if I'm wrong, it's been a few years ago, is I believe they were going through the master's program and
Okay.
trying to find funding. They had already we graduated the same year. And they reached out to me, they're like, Clanisha, like, I really need your help. I need some scholarship help. This master's degree is blowing me away. They were going to school to be a therapist. And specifically a therapist that touched on the topics and the conversations and serving the LGBTQ community.
Mhm.
Okay.
Mhm.
And so I looked up some scholarships, and they were able to get a scholarship through Flag, I believe, P Flag,
Hmm.
which is stationed in Louisville.
Okay.
And they were able to get a scholarship with that, which completely did not take away the full tuition, right? But it helped.
No. Yeah.
And they were so grateful. They are now therapists. And I believe the last conversation that we had, they were trying to go back to school to get some sort of doctorate and
Yeah.
going into other things. But I say that to say is that regardless of, I have a really big open heart, and I believe everybody, right, is to be loved. So my friend um, is doing great things.
Yeah.
So that was one
Yeah.
very, very, that relationship still continues. But I also have a student that I'm working with that I love. He is a senior in high school, and he is wanting to be a architect, and he wants to go to the New York school.
Hey.
I said,
Okay.
"Whoa,
Yes. Come on.
dream big, baby, dream
Please.
big."
Please. Yeah.
And the challenges that we're facing right now is he had just completed his financial aid, so he's waiting to hear back, and to see just how much he qualifies for, and getting award letters from schools to see, to gauge how much he would have to pay, um and how much he's going to get in financial aid. So the biggest challenge that I'm having right now, and like I said, when you're working with youth with different situations and circumstances and different socioeconomic statuses,
Yeah.
you may have a child whose family is, I don't even think it's called EFC anymore. It's called something different, to where they get the full Pell Grant.
Right.
But then you have some that don't even qualify,
Yeah.
or don't get anything. So this at this point has been my biggest challenge. Very rarely have I worked with families who make pretty decent money, um, and they don't qualify. So they're having to pay out of pocket, or, things like that, and go on scholarship. So I meet with him on a weekly basis.
Yeah.
And my goal for him, and which is one of the services that I provide, is working with him on a weekly basis. He graduates in May, of course, and then helping him through his first semester of college. So, you know, we meet up every Sunday at 11 a.m. And throughout the week, I'm digging for scholarships for him, looking to see, and whatever I find, we walk through each one and I go over and say, hey, this is what you may qualify, you qualify for, but this is how much you could get. This is the deadline for it. We share a Google Doc.
Mhm.
So he's while I'm making changes and update,
Right.
he's seeing that.
Right. Yeah.
We're using highlighting, so I know what he's applied for. So it's accountability,
Yeah.
right? In a
Yeah.
sense. Um, so a lot of the scholarships that he's applied for, I asked him last week, I said, have you heard back from anybody? He said, no, Miss Clanisha, not yet, because they're not announcing it until, being a senior, and I think we started somewhere in a summerish. Some of those scholarships are not letting people know until the spring. So February, March, closer to
Yeah.
graduation.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed that he gets some of that funding, and he's sending me acceptance letters, and I'm just like, oh my God, I'm so proud of you. So I feel like the benefit and the reward that I get out of it
Mhm.
is not money is not merely like, yes, it's good to get paid, for what you're doing, but I feel like the true benefit and the reward for me is just seeing them accomplish things, seeing them, achieve things and get awarded things. And I mean, that just makes my heart like so big and blossom. So, at the end of the day, I just know that, it's I'm making a difference,
Yeah.
I'm
Absolutely.
making a difference. So definitely, yeah.
Thank you for sharing those two. And yeah, I'm thinking about putting my mindset because I am that parent now, right? Like
Yeah.
because of my daughter
Yeah.
and the age she is and her desire to want to go to college. It's like you don't know what you don't know. So it's such a
Mm-hmm.
blessing. Like with your friend, you didn't know that there was this organization that provided a scholarship that would help pay for the specific type of counseling that she was going to go wanting to go or, striving to go into. Um, but she saw what how you could help and reached out. I was like,
Right.
how can you help? And then with the student you're working with now, to even have that mindset, like I'm gonna walk with you even through that first semester of college. And in my mind,
Yeah.
I was like when you have that type of like, okay, in the practical, you all are gonna meet, maybe you all will still continue to meet every week, but he knows that's coming, right? So when you know that type of
Yep.
accountability is there, that's love and
Mm-hmm.
support is there, I just feel like you're more apt to, okay, well, I'm gonna do my thing, right? I'm a
Right.
present well, right? Because I have Clanisha or Miss Coleman that is looking out for me, right? That cares
Yeah.
about what I'm doing. And we have
Mm-hmm.
established a relationship. And that's why, man, that one-on-one
That
coaching,
relationship, and let
that
me tell you, Candace,
relationship
mm-hmm,
so
it's
key,
everything.
right? And you said it at the very beginning, the trust is there, right? That trust is there.
Yeah.
He knows that you care. He knows that you got this whole document, you've been highlighting, you've been searching. He's getting
Mm-hmm.
into it too. That's amazing. And he's better for it, and you're better for it too.
Yeah. And I mean, Candace is funny because he had applied, I think, for like two or three scholarships that um was asking, maybe four, that was asking for references. Because a lot of scholarships ask for references. And
Yeah.
he, I seen it pop up in my email. And I'm like, look at him, right?
Yes.
So, that's another important part of it, is if I'm working with you and I'm seeing you progressing and I'm seeing that you're doing things that you need to do. If you need that reference,
Yeah.
I got you, right?
Yeah.
Especially coming from someone who's working directly with that child, and watching their progress can speak
Right.
volumes to that person, on the other end
Yes.
of the organization. So yeah.
Yeah. Man. And here's the thing, and you got to do the work, right? Like
Yes. Who?
parents listening, students listening to this, if you all are watching this, right? Like you have to do the work. And my thought
Yes.
that came to mind, and I say this a lot, is we are to do the possible, right? Do what you can
Mhm.
do. And I believe and I know it for myself that God will do the impossible,
Yep.
right?
Absolutely.
And I just got this video of encouragement from somebody that I really admire and am inspired by. And she talked about process goals. And that's a
Mm.
huge phrase for me because I'm visionary and
Yeah.
I'm dreaming big, right? So I have these big goals, but
Mhm.
it's like those process goals, right? The in between, those steps that I'm going to take to get to, and that thing is to be celebrated, right? Because I can't
Yep.
we apply for scholarships. I've applied for scholarships and gotten no's. I've applied for scholarships and
Yep.
gotten yeses. My
Yep. Yep.
is that I was able to graduate from undergrad debt free as well, which was such a blessing.
Mm-hmm.
My master's degree, I took out like a small loan that was able to get paid back, praise the Lord. But I was working at U of L at the time, so that paid for my master's, which that's a whole
Yes.
other blessing. When you work at a college, they
Yes.
have funding to pay for it. You know,
Yes. Tap it
um,
into them
yeah,
resources.
tapping into the resources, right? And so, yeah, I had lost my train of thought, but that's okay. That is okay. I was really
Yeah,
going
that's all right.
yeah,
It'll come back.
it will come back. But yeah, but
Yes.
sometimes we can be so focused, or I'll talk about myself, focused on the outcome goal, right? But I can't control that. I couldn't control whether or not I was going to get that scholarship, right? Or all those
Mm.
scholarships I got for undergrad. I didn't know that, and I'm telling my age, but I'm proud about it, that my last year, my senior year in high school was when they started the Keys Scholarship. For those of you all in Kentucky,
Whew.
you know about this Keys Scholarship. The lottery started my last year of high school. I didn't know that was going to happen. I knew nothing about that. But because I had done the thing, my grades were good. My test score was
Mhm.
was okay. But I was able to get money from this scholarship that had been created from proceeds from the lottery, right? But I was doing what I needed to do. So I just have to say that amazing young people, amazing adults, because there may be adults that are
Yeah.
watching this and you desire to go back to school or start school for the first time or go get your GED or start that business, whatever it may be, right?
Do it.
Do it
Hmm.
and start.
Yeah.
Do the
Yep.
possible, right? Work on those day-to-day habits and goals and patterns. And I just believe that God's gonna blow on it. He's going to put super on the natural that you do. I
Yes.
period.
Oh.
Period. Period.
Period. Yes.
And amen.
Big dot at the end.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes. So one last question for you, Clanisha. What are you looking forward to about our workshop?
Oh my goodness. So for me, it will be more of the ability to be in a space to share my knowledge and my expertise
Yes.
that could ultimately benefit and help a family in need of direction and next steps, and just answering those hard questions like,
Yep.
those what ifs, or, do I need to do this, or how do I do that? And just creating that safe space to, like, well, I need answers.
Yep.
I have people, right? I have you, I have Candace. Please direct me,
Yeah.
right? Because I think a lot of it is just the I don't knows, right? I,
Right.
I don't know where to start. I've did this, but could I be doing something different?
Right.
So just creating that platform and that space to just hear. And I'm pretty sure, hopefully family share some of their story, right? Like I love learning about people,
Yes.
and just building those connections, and authenticity, being authentic. Let me say
Yeah.
that. That was a hard word for me to say. Being authentic.
Yes.
Authenticity. There you go. It's so important. They
Yes.
want us, us. I know we're as real as it gets,
Yeah.
and we're going to be very open and honest. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Yay. I'm gonna
Yeah.
say same. Same, same,
Same.
same. We both, Kanisha and I both love to help. And I know I've been working in college access for like 15 plus years. So I've met a lot of families who could just write the check, right? And
Yep.
families who could not, right?
Right.
Who were looking at me like,
Mhm.
okay, we need to fill out this FAFSA form because I know they at least get something, right?
Right.
They'll be
Yeah.
able to do X, Y, and Z. And what I will say is, whatever situation, or income bracket, whatever you find yourself into, there are still questions, right, that you have. There's still some reassurance that you may need. And I think the big piece for me, what I'm looking forward to, is sharing that it can be done with grace.
Yep.
There's
There you
intention
go.
behind the title, right? You don't have to
Yes.
and we get overwhelmed when we try to do it all on our own and apply to
Mhm.
college and I think what I really learned by being working at a private school and back to kind of one-on-one, because when I worked for our state agency, I worked with a lot of people, right? I didn't do
Right.
a lot of one-on-one because the nature of my job, it wasn't that. It wasn't a one-on-one situation. Sometimes there was
Mm-hmm.
one-on-one interaction with families and students. And I love that, right? I love getting to know people.
Yeah.
But a lot of my work was talking to full classes of students,
Groups.
right? What
Yep.
big groups. But doing this one-on-one work, um, what I feel like I learned a lot was um, that help is available and you don't have to do this by yourself, right?
Yep.
Um, and that families need somebody to just point in the
Mm-hmm. Yep.
if you've been to college before.
Yep.
But I think what makes it even more when it's now your child's turn,
Mm-hmm.
they're leaving the comfort of your home, whether they're going to a college in your city or going across the United States to another state, right?
Right.
There's a lot of emotion. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
my baby going off to college,
Yeah.
right? And you said it
Nervous
earlier,
wreck.
I'm not there to tell them, hey, it's time to get up. And that made me think like, okay, yeah, because my daughter's right down the hallway and she's in my
Yeah.
house, I'm going to go in the room and say, get up, right? And she's not
Yep.
up already.
Mm-hmm.
But what does that look
Yep.
like, when she's not? And just as families, you and a parent, your heart is big for your child. So
Yes.
as
Speak
they're
on it.
making
Because
these, as they're making these
yes.
adult decisions, right? I just would say I've seen a lot of emotion, and me too, because I'm emotional about thinking about my
Yeah,
baby.
you a lot closer than I am.
Yeah,
Ooh,
I
baby.
am. But and I say all of I just said a whole lot, but I think what is so beautiful and what's available if you take advantage of it is that you have help, you have support available. You have someone like Kanisha, you have someone like myself that can walk with you in the process. And that's what we hope to foster, and share with you
Mhm.
more in the workshop coming up. So,
Yes.
yes. Well,
Yeah.
thank you, Kanisha, so much
You're
for telling
welcome.
yourself to be a part of the podcast. And my Her Renewed Mind listeners, man, I love you guys so much. And we want you all to hop in on this workshop. I'll give the details right now. It is Saturday, February 10th. We start at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Don't be late. And it is an investment. It is an investment in your scholar, or as students, if you're watching, we call you scholar. It's an investment in your future to learn about how you can plan for college with grace. So hop on my website, all the details. I'll have all that wherever you're watching this video. If you're listening, you can go to the show notes of whatever podcast platform you're on and get the direct link, but it's visionspeakconsulting.com. The flyer is front and center, and click on that and
Yes.
you will see the details on how to sign up, how much it costs. Right now we are running a special.
Yes.
So you
Special. Grab it.
grab
Grab
it,
it.
right? The special is $30 off until January 30th. So if you are watching this on January 30th, you have until 11:59 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to get in on that. After that date, the price does go up, and all that information is on the website. So if you know a family, right, share this
Mhm.
video with them. Share the contact information, the website, or be a blessing. Sign that family member up or that neighbor up for this workshop, and you'll be glad you did, and they'll be glad that you did that for them. So,
Yes.
yes, I think that's
Absolutely.
all the public service announcement.
You're
Yes, but Clanisha, thank you so much, and thank you for being you
welcome.
and how you're pouring yourself into young people and families in this community. More to come.
Yes.
More to come.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for watching and listening. Until next time, peace.